A police report obtained by 8 News Know says Harrison was swerving while driving a truck near Maine in Charleston. Corey Harrison's motorcycle accident was worse than anyone thought. He didn't just fall off. He had to jump for his life at 40 mph. The Pawn Stars fan favorite has been through more than just tough negotiations. His real life has been full of danger, heartbreak, and shocking turns, and just when he thought he had faced his younger brother Adam died instantly of an overdose, which was the worst thing that could have happened. Listen in, because what we just learned about Corey's latest health scare will leave you speechless. Gold, silver, and scandals. Corey, or Big Hoss as some people call him, was pretty much born into the pawn shop life. His grandfather, the late Richard Benjamin Harrison, opened gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas in the early 1980s, and his father, Rick, kept it going strong. Corey started working there as a kid by the time Pawn Stars came out. 2009, the world got to see what goes on in a pawn shop, and Corey became famous. But there's one deal he wishes he could take back, a choice that changed everything. While everyone was watching him negotiate and deal with weird old stuff on TV, his real life was getting complicated. For starters, there were the usual family business fights. He and his father had serious disagreements over his role. In the shop he was known as Wax, even though he wasn't on Pawn Stars. He was a star in the after threatening to quit. Corey got a 5% stake in the business, which wasn't exactly what he wanted, but it was a start. Then there were his personal problems. Corey had been carrying a lot of extra weight for years. At one point, he was over 400 lb until his doctor put him on diabetes medicine. That was the wake-up call he needed. He had lap band surgery, lost half his weight, and started living a much healthier life. But just as things were getting better, he got into a sorry, was riding his motorcycle when something went wrong, and he had to bail. He had to literally jump off while going 40 mph to avoid an even worse crash. Instead of going to the hospital right away like a normal person would, he went back to his birthday party first. Later, he had surgery on his hand and ended up with 8 screws and 2 plates. He lived to tell the tale. That wasn't the end of his problems, though. In 2023, he was pulled over in Las Vegas for what police thought was drunk driving. They said he was all over the road and smelled like alcohol. Corey said he had only had one drink 7 hours before being pulled over and blamed it on his car veering to the right. He failed the sobriety test, was arrested, and had to give a blood sample. The results eventually came back, showing that he was over the legal limit. He wasn't happy about it and planned to fight the charges. But the worst thing was that his younger brother Adam Harrison died from using drugs. 8 News Now got a statement from Harrison's family saying, "Our family is deeply saddened by the death of Adam. We ask for privacy as we grieve his loss." Adam Harris was only 39 years old. His death was sudden, shocking, and devastating for Corey and his family. Adam wasn't on Pawn Stars, but he had worked at a pawn shop before becoming a plumber. Corey tough, and he made it clear how much he loved and missed his brother, who has written some sad things online about everything that has. Life has thrown a lot at Corey, including losing weight, having an accident, getting into a legal mess, and losing his brother. But he is still out there running the show, working on the show, and trying to keep things together. If there is one thing that is clear, it is that he is not going anywhere just yet. Corey has also had a complicated relationship history. He married his high school sweetheart Charlene in 2009, but their marriage did not last, and they divorced in 2015. His second marriage to Karina also ended in divorce. They got a divorce in 2018 because of busy work schedules, but they stayed friendly with each other. In October 2018, they had a son and named him Richard Benjamin Harrison after Corey's late grandfather. There were rumors that Corey and Karina might have gotten back together after Corey posted a picture of himself kissing a woman who looked a lot like his ex-wife Karina, never changed her last name from Harrison, which made the rumors even stronger. There has been no official confirmation of whether they got back together. Aside from his business, TV, and personal life, Corey has always been an important part of the pawn shop's operations. He started working there as a kid, running errands and cleaning up. Over the years, he learned the ins and outs of the business, became an expert at appraisals, and developed an eye for valuable items. When he was 19, he bought 5 fake Rolex watches, which was a costly mistake. Over the years, Corey has seen a lot of strange and valuable things come through the shop. One of the craziest was a man with millions of dollars worth of silver bars in his car, along with live parrots and even human skulls from a dental school. He turned down the skulls because he knew they could get him in trouble with the law. Since the pawn shop is only a few blocks from the Las Vegas Strip, many gamblers have also come in to pawn their expensive things just to keep them. Our family is deeply saddened by Adam's death, and we ask for privacy as we grieve. In addition to running the shop, Corey has been in spin-offs and other TV shows. He stars in a game show called Pornography with his father and longtime friend, Chumlee, where they compete against contestants to see who knows more about valuable items. Corey, Rick, and Chumlee even appeared on an episode of iCarly called I Lost My Head in Vegas. More recently, Corey has been Pawn Stars is still one of the most popular reality TV shows, and Corey is still a big part of it. He is also a part of Pawn Stars Do America, a spin-off where he and the team meet collectors, appraise rare items, and make deals. Corey has also talked about his family's journey from struggling business owners to global TV stars. At a press conference, he said that his father once sold fake Gucci bags at a swap meet to make money. Now, Pawn Stars is watched in over 150 countries and translated into nearly 40 languages. He has said that he has learned a lot from his father, but that taking over as manager of the pawn shop has not been easy. Corey and Rick often disagree about business decisions, especially when it comes to judging the value of items. Richard, Corey's grandfather, was also very involved in the shop, and fights between the three generations made for some intense TV moments. Despite all the fights, the Harrison family stayed close, and Corey's grandfather was a huge influence. Corey's grandfather had Parkinson's disease and died in 2018. The death of his grandfather was a big loss for Corey and his family, but nothing could have prepared them for the death of Adam. Corey's social media posts after his brother's death show how much he was grieving. The Harrison family has been mourning privately and has asked fans to respect their need for space. Meanwhile, rumors have been going around that Corey had a major health scare recently. Some reports say he had a stroke, while others think it was another serious health problem. But neither Corey nor the Harrison family have confirmed any recent health issues. The next round of unexpected deals and high-stakes trades is about to begin when deals get dangerous. A man walks into the shop with an old double-barreled French coach gun. He wants to get rid of it because his wife hates it and he wants a loud guitar instead. This isn't just any gun. It has gold inlay, fancy engraving, and a spring-loaded bayonet that makes it look like something from a pirate movie. Rick sees it right away and knows it's unique. But unique doesn't always mean valuable, so he calls in a gun expert to take a look. The expert is all over it. It's a rare high-end fur arm from the mid-1700s. It was made in France, but later changed in England. It's a real Frankenstein of a weapon. Highwaymen, or old-fashioned thieves, were a big problem, and coach riders needed serious firepower to fight them off. This gun was perfect. Both barrels hit their targets. The bayonet is released, and a nasty defense weapon is ready to go. Rick is drooling over it. He knows it's worth at least $10,000 at auction, but that doesn't mean he's going to pay that much. The seller starts high, hoping for $6,000. Rick counters with a much lower $2,500. After some back and forth, they agree on a $4,000 cash deal. But then Rick throws in a curveball. Smith & Wesson has been making guns since the 1850s, and some of their guns have become famous weapons. This one is when Rick pulls out the brand new, never been played Les Paul. The seller, who is a guitar guy, forgets about the gun. They shake hands on the deal, trading the guitar for the gun, and both guys are happy. Rick just got one of the coolest old guns he's ever seen. Then there's Davey, the guy who always ends up spending more than he planned. This time, he comes in with a samurai sword. He says it's from the 1500s and worth $18. Oh, Rick is not interested. He buys it right away until he gets an expert to look it over. It turns out that the sword is real. It was made by the famous Japanese swordsman G.E. Smith hundreds of years ago. It's in great shape, and yes, it is worth between $5 and $20,000. Davey is sure he is getting his full $18,000. Rick laughs and starts low with $10. Oh, Davey fights back. They go back and forth, but Davey knows he is not getting full price in cash. That's when he sees something in the shop, a custom sandrail with big tires and a powerful engine, the kind of thing that tears up the desert. He has wanted it for a while, so he changes his mind and suggests a trade instead of cash. After more negotiating, they agree to trade the off-road toy for the samurai sword plus 8 yen. Davy's wallet takes a hit, but he walks away with the toy he has been dreaming about. Next, a man walks in with what looks like an old blunderbuss, the kind of gun pirates use to destroy anything in their way. He doesn't know much about it other than the fact that his family has had it for a long time. Rick isn't sure if it is real or not. He wants to know if it's real or a clever fake, so he gets another expert to look at it. It turns out to be real. It was made in London in the mid-1700s and was used for ship and coach defense back then. You would load these things with anything you could find, like nails, glass, and gravel, to make sure the person who got hit regretted their life choices. The expert confirms that it's worth between 3,500 and 5,500 at auction, but more like 2,500 in a store, which is all Rick needs to hear. The seller wants £3,000, but Rick is not willing to pay that much, so he offers £2,000 instead. The seller hesitates, but then remembers that he needs to buy an engagement ring for his girlfriend. He offers $2,500 in exchange, and the deal is made. Rick gets a great antique, and the guy gets a ring. Then there was a guy who thought he had struck gold when he brought in a 19th century Colt revolver. The revolver is a real beauty, nickel-plated with intricate engravings, and it has been in his family for generations. It's the perfect Colt gun. It was the most powerful handgun on the market for almost 100 years. If you wore one of these on your hip in the Old West, you were pretty much a man. He thinks it's worth a fortune. Rick, being the careful buyer that he is, calls in his firearms expert to check it out. The revolver is real and was made in the mid-1800s, but it's not a rare one-of-a-kind piece. It's valuable, but not quite the jackpot the seller was hoping for. Rick asked the expert how much it was worth, and the expert said between $6,000 and $8,000 at auction, which means Rick is not offering even close to that. The seller wants 7,000 rubles, and Rick offers 4,000. The seller tries to get more, but Rick stands firm, and they eventually agree on 4,500 rubles, which is a good deal for both parties. Later, someone comes in with a vintage Rolex Submariner that they say is from the early 1960s. It looks clean, but Rick has seen enough fake watches to be wary, so he calls in a watch expert to take a closer look. Not only is it a real watch, but it is also an early model with rare features, making it even more valuable. The seller wants $12,000 for it, but Rick only offers $8. They negotiate back and forth, but in the end, they agree on $10,000, and Rick walks away with a vintage Rolex that he can sell for a big profit. Then the seller throws in a medieval knight's helmet, saying it is from the 1500s and belonged to a noble warrior. Rick isn't sure because medieval armor is one of the most commonly faked collectibles, so he brings in an expert to check it out. The expert does some tests, checks the construction, and confirms it. The helmet is in great shape for its age and could fetch between $15 and $20,000. The seller wants $16,000 and Rick offers $9. After some back and forth, they finally agree on $11,000, and the seller gets a good payday, and Rick gets a real piece of medieval history. Some trades go beyond money, turning into unforgettable moments of passion and history, high stakes, high drama. Pawn Stars has seen some seriously crazy trades over the years, but some deals really stand out as legendary. Imagine walking into a store with a bronze bust and leaving with a stash of silver worth thousands of dollars. That's exactly what happened when a man with a real Vatican licensed Michelangelo Madonna bust came in. He was thinking big money, $80,000, but let's be honest, it's just a mold of the original masterpiece. Still, it looked great, no damage, all the right markings, and it was part of a limited run. That's a strong selling point. But here's the problem. While it is a beautiful work of art by Michelangelo, the expert comes in, looks at it, and confirms that it is real. He even gives a cool history lesson about how Michelangelo actually signed the original because tourists back in the day were giving credit to the wrong artist. Even with all that prestige, the sale price wasn't going to be $80,000 mark. The expert thought it was more like $35,000. That's a big difference. And when it came down to the brass tacks, the shop didn't want to take too many risks. They made a cash offer of $23,000, but the seller wouldn't budge. It was a surprise that the guy wanted to trade 100 lb of silver for cash. With the current price of silver, that trade was worth $224,000. Now, that was some next-level haggling. Another crazy moment happened when a man walked in with an old Las Vegas club $5 casino chip. It may not sound like much, but there were only 8 known to exist, making it a collector's dream. The owner was asking $6,000, but that was too much for the counter. The guy didn't like the offer of $3,000, but he had another idea. He saw a set of Rat Pack statues of Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Dean Martin. The shop had them priced at $600, but they were really worth much less. Had been working on perfecting the revolver since the 1830s, and by the time of the Civil War, he hit it big with the Colt Army. It was precision engineered, quick, and reliable. The shopkeeper did the math and made the deal, $33,000 in cash, and the statues were thrown in for a rare chip like that. It wasn't a bad trade. The seller was happy and probably went straight to Sino to see if he could turn that $3 into something more. Then there was a man with an old harmonica that was a real piece of history from the early 1900s. What made it unique was the Zeppelin design on it. Back then, airships were thought to be the future of travel, and this harmonica was like a time capsule of that excitement. If it were just a regular harmonica, it would be worth maybe $10 or $20. But with that unique engraving, it went up in value. The buyer made an offer of $200, but the seller wanted more. He tried to push for $300, but the shop refused. The final offer was $200 for a Timex watch, not the Rolex he was joking about, but a deal is a deal. And then there was the guy who literally dug treasure out of the trash, a vintage Louis Marx and Company tin toy he found in a dumpster, cleaned up, and brought to the pawn shop. It was a piece of history. The toy still worked, the car spun on the track, and it was in pretty good shape. Even though it had some box damage, the guy thought he had a gold mine when he asked for $200, but the shop wasn't convinced. These toys, while cool, don't bring in huge amounts of money unless they are brand new and in their original packaging. This one had been through it all. The shop made a counteroffer of $40, and the seller tried to go higher, but the shop wouldn't budge. The final deal was $40 in cash plus $20 in store credit. It wasn't exactly a jackpot, but for something that was found in the trash, it was a profit. But that wasn't the only surprise. Charles Ponzi made a lot of money in the 1920s by selling fake investments. The one thing that all Ponzi schemes have in common is that someone gets ripped off in the end. A collector came in with a vintage Coca-Cola vending machine from the 1950s. The bright red color, the classic script logo, and the clear nostalgia factor made it a great item for the shop. The machine was in good shape, had all of its original parts, and could still keep sodas cold. The seller wanted $4,000. The shop loved the machine, but was realistic about how much it could sell for again. A counteroffer of $2,500 was made, and the seller was hesitant at first, but eventually agreed. It was a fair trade for a piece of Americana. Another unique trade was a rare concert poster from the 1970s featuring the Rolling Stones. Posters like this in perfect condition are very collectible, especially ones from important tours. This one had the right mix of rarity and nostalgia. The seller originally wanted $8,000, citing its condition and the fact that only a handful were ever printed. An expert was brought in to make sure it was real and give it a value closer to $5. The negotiations were tense, but they settled on $4,500, which was a good deal for everyone. A man once brought in an original 1920s baseball glove hoping to hit a home run with a big payout. The glove was in good shape for its age and had a famous player's signature on the inside, but it was hard to see. The seller wanted $3,000, but sports memorabilia can be tricky. The expert confirmed it was real, but the faded signature hurt. The final price was $1,700 in cash, which wasn't the seller's ideal number but still a good payday. One of the stranger trades was a custom-built pinball machine from the 1980s. The seller had spent years fixing it up, and the mechanics worked like new. It had limited edition artwork and all the lights and sounds that made vintage pinball a cult favorite. The seller wanted $7,000 for it, but the shop wasn't sure if they could get it. A specialist was called in to check all the machines. After a lot of back and forth, the final price for this arcade classic was set at $3,800. Not bad for an old game. Would you have paid more for it, or did you think the final price was fair? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts.